One, two, one, two. Is that better? Still not getting. One, two. One, two, one, two. Okay, let me try this. Okay, check this. How's that? How's that? You're getting yellows there now. Nothing at all. And now? One, two, one, two. Okay, yeah, I'm shouting.
Are we fine here? person is Judge President of the Gauteng Division, Judge President Mlambo. Chief Justice, we have media people in the room, and we've got media people joining us virtually on a Zoom platform. They'll be able to interact with the room and pose questions as appropriately. We'll give an opportunity to the Chief Justice to say a few words, and then we'll take questions from the media. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, members of the media physically present here and those who are attending virtually. Today is the actual first day of the conference. Although we started with a gala dinner last night, this is a very important conference. Judges have not had a conference in a long time. As I said in my speech, the convening of this conference is a response to calls by a number of judges for a conference. So it's a platform for judges to talk about matters that have been agreed should be in the program and to deal with issues that affect them. It's a conference which is judges or judicial officers only, it's judges and a number of magistrates who are also present. So this conference is going to deal with a number of issues. As you will have seen, the theme of the conference is a single, effective, and truly independent judiciary. A lot of emphasis is on institutional independence, court administration, but of course, independence of the judiciary in general is part of the theme. So over the next 3 days, there will be a lot of discussions. There will be plenary sessions. There will be commissions where smaller groups will engage with certain topics. We have speakers from within the country, but we also have speakers from Namibia, Tanzania, and Kenya. They have been invited to speak on certain matters, topics. That's what's going to happen. But we are quite happy to deal with whatever questions the media might have that they would like to have clarification on. I have a full team here. Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm Aviwe Mdila from ENCA. Chief Justice, firstly, maybe I want to talk on what we're seeing playing out when it comes to court cases, them dragging out for a long time. For example, the Senzo Meyiwa murder case, which has been ongoing for a while now. Does it not undermine the efficiency and effectiveness of the courts and the people's faith in them? That being my first question. Maybe the second one, you also touched in your opening address just on the last 30 years. Maybe I'd like you to highlight on what you're seeing happening within the judiciary, mistakes of the judiciary over the last 30 years. And as you were about to close, Chief Justice, you mentioned something that stuck out for you, just around the former president and him not abiding to the Constitutional Court, the apex court. And you were talking rather around the personal independence of the judges themselves. Maybe so that I can explain better to the audience, was there any interference in trying to persuade the judges in coming to a different conclusion to what we saw play out?
Thank you. I'm going to ask the Judge President of Gauteng or the Deputy Judge President of Gauteng to deal with the question that relates to the delay about the Senzo Meyiwa matter. Let me deal with the second question. Look, the threats that I was talking about are threats that were made publicly, that we all saw people congregating somewhere or commenting to the media about what was going to happen if certain things were done. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not aware of anything that may have happened privately. I've not been told that anybody approached any judge privately, but the threats I was talking about are those that were made publicly. Yeah, thank you.
Chief Justice, if I may, just to come into that question, one of the judges who was still in Gauteng, who dealt with part of the matter that came to the Court involving the former president, was seriously hysterical because he received personal threats in his cell phone. Justice Matujane. So I'm talking from experience. It took a lot from me to pacify him and to request that he not make a move, not leave his residence, and make sure that if he leaves, he must make sure he's protected. So I can refer to that one incident that relates to that particular matter, right? He received personal threats. Let me move on to the Senzo Meyiwa matter. We allocate judges to hear matters. We run what we call a running roll system in the High Court in terms of criminal matters. Running roll means the judge remains available for a matter until it's finalized. It's not a question of what you see sometimes with the regional courts, that they'll hear 2 witnesses one day, postponed for 3 months, and hear another matter. In the High Court, it's a running roll. Until all the witnesses are finalized and the case is finished, then the judge will give the judgment. That's the running roll. We had the unfortunate intervention of incapacitation of Judge Maumela, who was the first judge in the matter. When it became clear to us that he was not going to be able to proceed with the matter, we had to take a decision, and we consulted with all the legal teams involved that it was not going to be possible. And we looked at the legal framework as to what could happen in that situation, whether another judge could come in and continue where Judge Maumela left off, or whether the matter had to start afresh. And we followed legal prescripts that maybe the matter has to start afresh, and we got a new judge. You'll agree with me that the matter has had good traction since retired Judge Mokgatleng took over. And Judge Mokgatleng is available daily. What has caused the delays are what usually happens in criminal trials, that sometimes a witness is not available, or sometimes the defense will ask for time to consult, to look at new evidence and whatever. Unfortunately, it is the judiciary that takes the blame when these matters are dragged, but it's not us. The judge is available all the time, but he can't refuse requests because he doesn't want to interfere with the right to a fair trial of the accused. When he is approached to say, we are not ready, We've been given these documents, we've been given these pictures, we want to study them. So that's what's caused the delays. But I want to believe that in the next term, Judge Mokgwatleng is available throughout. When this next term starts, he's going to run with that matter. And my hope as JP, and I've said this much to him, is that he must not finish. I don't know if that answers your question. Thank you very much, CJ.
Well, maybe I can just also say that Judge President Lambo also mentioned to me the incident of Judge Matojane. I'm aware of it. He mentioned it to me at the time. Of course, that related to another matter involving Mr. Zuma and not necessarily the one about defying the court order of the Constitutional Court, but I'm aware of that. And of course, apart from those judges of the Constitutional Court who were involved in the matter, threats were made against other judges, intimidation. There was all kinds of intimidatory messages that were given, were spread, even during the July unrest. Petrol bombs were shown to say certain houses would be burnt. I've become aware recently that apparently there are people facing some charges in KZN relating to the unrest, where one of the either charges or allegations is that they conspired to kill me during the unrest. That's what I've picked up in the media. It's a case that is set to be going to the High Court in January. So, so threats do get made. And it's quite important that judges be protected. And apart from protection from the police, one of their protections is a public that has confidence in judges, that appreciates the role of judges in society, and would stand up for them.
Thank you, Chief Justice. I think we have one other question in the room, then we'll go to the online platform. Please go ahead.
Good morning, Chief Justice and the House at large. My name is Selwane Khachau from SABC News. You mentioned that since our democracy will be turning 30 next year, that we need to reflect and make corrections where necessary. I just want to know, in your observation, what do you think needs to be corrected and how exactly should that be done? The other issue that you mentioned, the other challenge is that of load shedding. You know, it is a big problem. Sometimes when we are attending court cases, we have to go on long breaks, you know, for the electricity to come back. So would also like to understand how that can be resolved and whether it can be resolved speedily, because really it is a big problem. Thank you.
Well, the problem of load shedding has been there for a very long time. Seems to take long to resolve, and it's very disruptive to the operations of the courts. We depend really on the executive to do what needs to be done to ensure that load shedding is resolved and that courts are enabled to proceed without, or even if there is load shedding, the issue of generators and so on. But to go back to your first question, I'm sure that all of us in this room would be aware of various things that we look at in our country and say, well, as a country, we didn't do right here and there. I mean, one thing that we need to sort out is corruption, which takes away from the people money that should be used to ensure services are delivered to them, money that should make sure that houses are built for people, poor people, money that should be used to build roads, clinics, schools, pay public servants better. So that is one of our problems. We need to all be very active as citizens to try and do what we can to reduce the levels of corruption. Thank you.
Sorry, we're going to go to the online platform. We're going to just request the colleagues on the online platform to please put their cameras on when they are called on to ask their questions. We'll start with Karen Mon. She'll be followed by Mbegezeli Benjamin. Please proceed.
Good morning. I've just put my camera on. I've got two questions which basically relate to the same subject matter. And I think it's become a pertinent issue because we seem to see a huge amount of misinformation and sometimes misreporting on issues involving the judiciary. My first question is for Chief Justice Raymond Zondo. We recently saw the UDM MP Bantu Holomisa asked Parliament's Intelligence Committee to investigate a so-called intelligence report making serious corruption accusations against judges, including yourself and, of course, JPM Lambo. And it subsequently emerged from very peripheral or very sort of basic journalism, checking footnotes, etc., that the report wasn't an intelligence report, that it had in fact been written as a sort of draft proposed report, or essentially a fake intelligence report by an AIDS denialist who's confirmed that he was the author of the report. But it was nonetheless used on social media and is still being used to perpetuate these corruption allegations against yourself and other judges. And my question to the Chief Justice is, are you disappointed with the ease with which this kind of misinformation, and we've seen this in the past with corruption allegations just being peddled out with seemingly no disregard for checking the facts, and often by bots, but also often by people with a number of followers? And what mechanisms, and I think this speaks to my second question, which is to JPM Lambo, do judges actually have to address it when they are the targets of defamation, misinformation, etc.? Because I know there is this attitude that judges can't say anything, they can't do anything because they need some distance from these things. But it has reached the point where, serious accusations are being made against judges and they seem to have no ability to do anything about it. The second question is to JPM Lambo. I see now there has been just a statement put out by Chris Perry on behalf of the Justice Minister in relation to the Daily Mavericks reporting about the situation with Judge Sadiwala, who was presiding over a matter that has links to the former Deputy President David Mabuza, and suggesting that there was something wholly untoward about the fact that Judge Sadiwala was removed from the matter because he was discharged essentially because of apparent ill health and mental incapacity. We now see that the Justice Ministry has come out and firmly laid out the basis from which that's happened and made it very clear that there was nothing untoward. But you, JPM Lambo, you were targeted in this intelligence report, and now you've been a target, the suggestion that you were somehow involved in an inappropriate exercise of your power in terms of the discharge of Judge Sadiwala. Having found yourself the repeated target of these kind of intelligence reports, fake intelligence reports, these kind of reports where there doesn't seem to have been a basic effort to check the facts, how how do you think the judiciary can address that? And, you know, in terms of the Judge Sadiwala matter, how do you manage that need to respect his privacy because of his condition with needing to put the facts on the table and not allowing this kind of misinformation to spread? I know those were very long questions. I apologize. I just wanted to give the facts. Thank you.
Let me deal with the first question. Yes, it is disappointing that such reports are circulated so easily. One wishes that people would be circumspect and would not rush to circulate to the public reports like that. One doesn't want to give much traction to those kinds of reports because, of course, those people want the public to talk about those reports. It didn't take me long when I read that report to see that it certainly was not from within the intelligence. I mean, in intelligence, people never reveal their sources, and that report revealed its source and other things. So I would have thought that that is one of the things that could have been picked up. In terms of what judges can do in this situation, my approach is to treat each case on its merits. On the one hand, you don't want to give something that's really nonsense a lot of publicity, because the moment the Chief Justice says something about it, then there'll be reports about the Chief Justice saying something about it. So that's why up to now, even though I read it, I've never said anything about it. It's just that it's painful when it makes certain allegations, but you don't want sometimes to give it credibility that it doesn't deserve. JP.
Thank you, CJ. I think, let me start by talking about a convention that I grew up knowing exists. It's unwritten, as between the judiciary and the legal profession. But the first one relates to the judiciary itself. We have no means to enforce our court orders, but we know that within our constitutional framework, if we issue court orders, they've got to be respected. There are entities and agencies that have the responsibility of ensuring that they support the judiciary in its work. The Constitution is clear in that regard. But coming to the question asked by Ms. Mon, I refer to that convention deliberately. I come from a past where the legal profession in its formations was always on hand to protect the judiciary when things like this happen. And that kind of intervention by the legal profession in its formations has sort of receded. And I don't understand why it has happened. It's now up to legal NGOs, sometimes, who take up the cudgels and defend the judiciary when these unfair allegations are made. I would hope that the legal profession, which feeds into the judiciary, would go back to basics and start and continue what they used to do in the past, to take up the cudgels, because it would be very untidy for us to engage blow by blow with these things when they could eventually end up in our courts, which is why this convention exists, that some people who are outside the decision-making processes actually consume what's peddled out there and deal with it to protect us. So I hope the legal profession will get there. But this conference will also be looking at that, because that's a real threat to the independence of the judiciary. And the next session that comes, we're going to be looking at that. And I mean, just my last word about this report. I mean, the author of the report applied for a job at Legal Aid South Africa many years ago, more than 10 years ago, when I was chairperson of Legal Aid South Africa. He didn't get the job. I was not involved in that process in whatever manner. But from that day onwards to date, he continues to accuse me. He's even created a website that hurls insults at me and any other judge who finds against him. He brought a court to the labor court, he lost it. But he hasn't stopped. It comes back to what I say earlier. We need to be protected, because it would be untidy for us to start engaging in this blow-by-blow fight at denying accusation and instituting legal proceedings against these people, because sometimes it gives those allegations wind that it doesn't deserve. So I think I would respond that way to that question, Ms. Mon. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge President.
Oh, sorry, the Sadiwala question. Sorry, I forgot that. When Judge Sadiwala mentioned to me that he's not well, it was some time before I actually approached the Minister of Justice to approach the President to discharge him. What had happened was the COVID-19 restrictions had ended, and we issued a directive for all legal proceedings in our courts to go back to the default position of in-person hearings. Judge Sadiwala was the lone exception who stayed marooned in Durban, doing this particular matter virtually. Me and the DJP who sits here engaged him on several occasions to come back to Pretoria. And he actually then said, look, JP, I'm here doing this matter virtually because of my health and the support structures I have in my family that help me continue to do this work. If I come to Joburg, I will lose that support structure, and I don't think I'll be able to continue doing this matter, right? Then I said, look, it's untidy, because we had been getting reports. The DJP got more of those reports, that during those proceedings that he was handling, things were not going well. Like they would sit for less than 2 hours some days, and not because of any fault of the parties, but because of him. And which is why we're imploring him to come back to the division. So he eventually then, I said, look, if you are unwell, we can force you to continue working, but we need a medical substantiation for your health situation. And we got it. When we got it, I had a session with him, with the DJP, to say, we will approach the minister, to approach the president to board you medically on certain conditions. One, you are in this trial, you must finish it. We'll specifically say it in the memo requesting for your medical boarding, that you'll be boarded, but you must finish this matter. Two, you've got a number of reserve judgments that are outstanding. You must also finish those. Because the contrary is very unthinkable, because if all those matters where reserve judgments were to start afresh, can you imagine the legal cost involved? So he agreed that that was the conditions on which he was going to be medically boarded. And my memo, and I haven't read the report from the Justice Ministry, but my memo is clear that those were the conditions on which we asked for him to be medically boarded. But after his medical boarding, or even before it came, I can't remember the sequence, He actually said to us that he also does not see his way clear to finalizing this matter. Because now his concentration spell, as well as, I don't want to divulge more what his medical condition is, says he was not going to do justice in continuing to stay in the matter. We convened a judicial case management matter with the DJP. We called all the parties involved to say, we have this situation, and we put options to them. Two options that I remember. One was, let all the evidence that have been led, right, be given to a new judge that will appoint. So the matter does not start from scratch, but it continues from there. The new judge will have to check and read and peruse whatever has happened and take the matter forward. That was the one option. The other option was that if that was not acceptable, was that the matter has to start afresh before another judge. Though that situation is beyond my hands. Anyone who wants to accuse me of being involved in some stratagem to influence the outcome of this matter has not considered these facts. And I know that the legal professionals who are involved in these matters were given full briefing about Judge Saduwala's condition. And when they were, I think, if I'm not mistaken, DJP can correct me, I think they wanted the medical report itself. And I think we said, if they can get Judge Saduwala's consent, we can give it to them. But that's the long and short of the judge side. And it's not the first time that we have a judge being medically boarded. It happens. Judges are not robots. And if you take account of the workload of the Gauteng division, I've had a number of those where judges actually have to be released for 6 months, 4 months, because medically they've become unfit to continue doing work, and approach the minister to release them. So it's nothing new. I refuse to accept that I am involved in a stratagem to influence the outcome of this matter. I don't know if that answers your question, but thank you very much.
Thank you, through you, CJ. Yeah, there's also noise made about the 5 judgments that Judge Sadiwala delivered after he was boarded. Since the beginning of the year, we've been in contact with Judge Sadiwala saying that there are these outstanding judgments and he should ensure that those judgments are delivered. Now, an impression is made that after he was boarded, he started writing those judgments. Those judgments were prepared before. It was just a question of delivery of those judgments after he was boarded. Thank you.
Are you pressed for time?
Yeah, I'm worried about time, so it shouldn't be too many questions from now.
Okay, we'll take the next one is Mbegezeli Benjamin. If you can just make your question very brief, and then we'll take all of them at once. Then next we'll take Diane Hawker, and then Sihle Mlambo, and that will be the end of the session.
Okay, thank you very much, Chief Justice, and to the judges. I hope you can hear me clearly. I have very short questions. The first one, Chief Justice, is relating to the judicial administration model. You mentioned that the executive has come back to you with the proposal. My question is, will this proposal be tabled at this conference? And if it will, are the outcomes of the discussion be released publicly in any shape or form? So that's the first question. The second one.
I think let's keep it to one question, please, to give others an opportunity.
Okay.
We'll move to Diane Hawker, please. One question. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My question relates to the issue of the delay in finalizing the sort of full independence of the judiciary. If the Chief Justice or one of the panelists can give us an idea, what exactly are the sticking points that have actually caused this to delay? I think you said something like 10 years since things have moved, and there were meant to be meetings, but the meetings didn't happen. What's behind the delay that's actually taking place?
Thank you, ma'am. Sihle Mlambo, one question, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Just a quick one for
Please
JP
put your
Mlambo.
camera on.
Sure, no problem. Just a quick question for JP Mlambo. You mentioned earlier about the Senzo Mayewa trial. There have been some concerns raised about Judge Rata Mokoteng being potentially biased in that case. Are you concerned about those, and are they receiving any attention at the JP's office? Thank you.
Thank you. Chief Justice.
The court administration model, there will be there will be discussions in the conference, but the actual tabling I don't think will happen, but there might be reference to the to the model or the response of the executive. That is mainly because as I said in my speech, there is a committee that is looking into the matter and will produce a report that will be given to me, and then I will share it with heads of courts. So the discussion, but the discussion will discuss court administration model. So you might not get it now, the model that is the media, but you will get it in due course. So it's just a matter of time. I've no doubt, but obviously the executive, they might decide, it's their document, they might decide to give it to you, it's up to them. But from our side, we wouldn't give it at this stage. That was about court administration. And I think the second question related to the delay in dealing with the issue of court administration model. The delay, as I said, is really been because the executive took 10 years to respond. That is what has delayed us. They were given the judiciary's proposal about 12 years ago, 11 years ago, and they took that long. And we couldn't force them to respond to us if they didn't want to respond or didn't feel that it was the right time for them. So that is what caused the delay. Thank you.
CJ, just to respond briefly to the question by Mr. Mlambo. I've not received anything official. Yeah, we've not received anything formal or any formal complaint by the legal representatives involved in the matter. In any way, if something of that nature were to happen, those complaints would have to be addressed to the judge who still sees with the matter. I have no basis to involve myself with a matter that is still pending and still running before a judge, because I'll be interfering with the decisional and independence of that judge. So we've received nothing. I think what Mr. Mlambo is referring to is allegations that are flying out on social media or wherever. But as the leadership of the bench and the judge himself, he would have said so to me. We've not received anything formal. And as such, who is not going to respond to anything that's been flighted on social media. Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, JP. That concludes the press briefing, colleagues. The Chief Justice will have a further engagement with the media on Thursday. So please do come back and engage further with the Chief Justice. That concludes the media briefing. Thank you.
Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you.
There's a photo session going on outside. Who's taking this photo? No, Jake said we must visit come. Yeah, the cool photo. Yeah, when I saw when they photo.